Welcome, Illumineers! It is time to take a rest from your quest and stop on by the Lore Keeper's Inn. I'm your host, Katie. Now, here at the inn, we encourage our guests to take advantage of our extensive DVD and VHS library. However, we can't spend all our budget on fancy pants, theatrical releases, so instead we curated the next best thing, which is direct-to-DVD VHS sequels. To make the most of this collection, we are doing a series called Movie Night at the Inn, where each episode, me and a guest will discuss one of the 29 prequels and sequels that never quite made it to theaters. We will tell you the plot, discuss what we liked, discuss our concerns, determine if it was good, better, or as good, better, worse than the original, and lastly, do we think it should be a Disney Lorcana? At the end, we'll put it back on the shelf and put it in a relation to its peers. So basically, we put it on a tier list. So we've done 3 so far. This is number 4. And today, we are diving into the 2005 sequel, Kronk's New Groove. Now, legally, anytime any media is related to Emperor's New Groove and it comes up in relation to Lorcana, you have to consult the Emperor of Late Night. You know him, you love him. From his twice-weekly show of shenanigans and sometimes shoe-based beverages, he is the host of Lorcana After Dark. It's the one and only Ybreezy.
Boom, baby. I wanted to do that
Yeah.
just because it's not. I gotta have to. You said legally. I was like, legally, I have to say that. So
Yeah,
kind of
you're
a
like,
mutual
you did,
agreement
you
type of
said it
deal.
in a professional manner too.
Yeah,
So I appreciate
exactly. It
that.
was sort of a deal type of situation. But yeah, it's a fun time to be doing this about a movie that's something,
You
right?
know, it is a movie. People can't
It,
say it's not.
it,
So
to be fair, it's too short. But we'll
it
get into
is.
that probably. But is it a movie at that point? Because like almost.
It's longer than Dumbo. So,
Oh, that's
and no
fair.
one would say Dumbo's not a movie. So,
That's true.
um, yeah. So, I mean, but we'll get in. I don't want to
Yeah,
spoil how we feel
yeah,
about
but
this movie, you know?
it's an honor to be
Um,
here. First of all, it's a blast. Yeah. So thank you for having me on. First of all, just want to say
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Last time you were on Hakuna Lorcana, we talked about Emperor's New Groove, which was all sunshine, all rainbows, nothing
Oh,
negative.
best. So good, underrated. Everyone that talks about it's like such an underrated movie, and I applaud them because it
Yeah.
is.
You can tell they're a cool person if they say
Yeah,
that they like Emperor's New Groove. It's kind of
exactly.
like, are you going to say, is the 3 underrateds, I think, are like Atlantis, Treasure Planet, Emperor's New Groove. You learn a lot about a person, the one that they're like a stand for.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's like a Harry Potter house type of situation. It's
yeah.
like, which one do you like?
I
There's a lot.
haven't met I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like, you know what's underrated? Home on the Range. But I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
We'll find them. We'll find them.
They're
They'll show
very
up.
quiet. They're very reserved. But in case you didn't know, Kronk's New Groove is a sequel to Emperor's New Groove. So this film was released in 2005. Now, sometimes I like to do fun facts. Good luck. This movie, some of direct-to-sequel movies, they just appear. They're just born, and that's all you get to know is they're here.
That's it.
But I have a few facts.
Yes.
It is the only, and this is a citation needed. My citation was like disneyfacts.com. So
All real. Internet. It's on the internet. It's of course real.
exactly. But it was the only direct-to-video Disney film where all of the voice actors from the first film reprised their roles.
Nice.
So I didn't even believe it because like they didn't sound exactly the same. And I was like, oh no, you guys are this is how you sound now. Time has passed.
It's different. It's 5 years.
Yeah, so much can change. But yeah, they're all there. David Spade and Eartha Kitt and John Goodman. They were there. And
our hero, Patrick Waterburn.
yeah, of course, yes.
Our hero.
He was there. I don't know, this is kind of an aside. Have you read have you rode Soaring?
Of course.
Soarin'.
Of course. He shows
Okay.
up with a whole suit. I'm sold
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, and D23, I don't know, did you watch, like, he came
He was
back?
back. He was
Yeah.
there.
So if
So
you're listening to this podcast and you also are a fan of the Soarin', I say Soarin' because in Japan it's soaring with a G, no Patrick. Canceled. But it's really cool. They did something different. So yeah, stop this, go watch the D23 video, come back, and then we can continue.
Go back to it and be like, wow, the video was awesome, right? It's like, yeah.
It was. It's a lot of in-jokes. My husband jokes that Disney World is a lot of references to other Disney World things. He's like, it's just references to things that if you don't know, you just don't know. And I'm like, well, what can I say? Learn.
Gotta be cool. Gotta learn, be cooler.
Yeah, go to the park more. I don't know.
Cool time.
Now, Rudy, Chicha, and Chaka, Chi- Chicha and Chaka, they really, I wouldn't name my children that. Well, Chicha's the mom. So
Chicho's the
Tipo
mom.
already had a name. Tipo was
Tipo was
named in the
Tipo.
first movie, but Rudy, Chicha, and Chaka were not referred to by name in the previous
Yeah,
movie. So this movie, they were given names, and that's
we
exciting.
needed it.
Yeah. So Rudy is already in Lorcana, so is Chicha, so is Chaka. And technically, the last question of should it be in Disney Lorcana, they already are.
Yeah, yeah.
And they
There's
already,
some characters that still could make it though.
that's true. Yes.
Some.
Now the voice of Rudy might sound familiar to you because he is also I'm going to let you guess because I feel like it's very obvious, but then also it might not be.
Isn't it the duck? Isn't
No,
he?
but it is an
No.
animal.
Uh,
Oh, the groove. Well, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like, I want a hot dog real bad. That's not the right voice, but Piglet. It's Piglet. He voices Piglet. He voiced
oh.
Piglet for many years. Um,
So interesting fact about that, by the way, with voice actors and such. A lot of those like childhood stuff, but people like, have you seen it? I have, but people like, hey, do you remember when they said this? I don't because I watched it in different languages.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like SpongeBob and like other Disney like movies that I watched as a kid. Sometimes like, do you remember this quote? I'm like, no, didn't didn't get the same exact
Yeah.
thing.
Were you watching it in Turkish? Do they have
Yeah.
script? Wow. Okay.
So like when people was like, do you remember this person? I was like, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
But Piglet,
As we
interesting.
learned last night, I mean, other countries in France, Cogsworth is Big Ben and
Big
Captain
Ben.
Hook is Captain Crochet, which is sounds
Awesome.
like or a terrible superhero. Either way, tough to
I would
say.
love a superhero who can just solve crimes through crochet powers.
Yeah, or at least solve coldness. So, my big question to start with is had you seen this movie prior to me saying we should do this episode?
Yes.
Okay, what is your background? Like what is your like if somebody said, "Hey, what's your relationship to this movie?" How would you describe it?
They're like Kronk's New Groove is like a aunt you see every once in a while. That's like cool, but too much is too much.
Mm,
That's my relationship with the movie. It's like, yeah, it's a good time every once in a while, but like too much.
that's fair. Well, do you remember the first time you saw it? Like, is it something you saw later, or do you remember like this
I
is when you're
was
like, "Mama, we have to
it
go
was
get it."
later. It was later. I figured out that movie existed afterwards.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I was confused and wasn't sure why that movie existed. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But then it kind of grew on me. It was like, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. And now I'm in the stage of, yeah, that's a movie. I can
It
watch it
is.
once a year. It's a movie
Yeah.
of all time. It's one of the movies of all time.
Yeah, of all the movies, it is one of them. I will say that I had the same thing. I saw it and I didn't know what to think, but you know, I will say that there's been on the series, we've only done 3. It feels like a lifetime of movies, but like there were some I've had like visceral reactions to. Like for example, Mulan 2, there's times that I was like
What's
upset,
happening? Yeah.
feeling upset. I didn't feel upset in this movie. I felt confused at times,
Mhm.
bewildered perhaps, but
Confused.
never upset. So that's I mean, that's already a point in its
Yeah.
favor is it is it does what it says on the label. And you might say, what does it say it's going to do on the label? And that is Kronk getting his groove. So for the audience, to save you guys some time, if you haven't spent 112 minutes watching the movie, we'll catch you up. It takes place roughly a year after the events of Emperor New Groove. And you might say, how do you know? I think he briefly references it. And also,
Yeah.
Chicha has had her child.
The baby's out.
The baby is out in
Baby's
the open.
out and about.
Yeah, and so we pick up the film, and it's just like Emperor's New Groove, where it's a hey, you might have wondered how I got in this situation.
Classic early 2000s. Like, it's
Yeah,
so great.
and he's covered
Yeah.
in perhaps a cheese sauce. It's difficult to say, but it is orange and goopy, which does read cheese to the audience. So he tells a tale. He says, "You want to know how I got into this? Let's go." And he
Oh,
starts. Yeah, he starts. He's basically a good man in the community. You find out that he is a delivery driver
he's doing great.
and a chef. He is working with the local community. So I mean, he
Good
really is an all-around
experience.
great guy.
Yeah.
So he's got like 3 full-time jobs. He works at the
He's a
restaurant.
busy man.
Yes, he
He helps the
volunteers.
community.
Yeah, he volunteers with the Junior Chipmunks.
Teaches
He
them how to speak squirrel.
Yeah, and he donates to the elderly, and the
Everything.
elderly include Rudy. Rudy's here, he's a character, and he matters.
It's
He's
sort of important.
he's also naked for part of the film. You don't enter the movie expecting to see naked Rudy, but you leave the movie having that
I
experience.
always wanted to see Naked Rudy after the first movie, so they really answered the question
Yeah.
specifically for that. I really
Mhm.
don't. There's a lot of things the movie did that it's just like, what was the point?
You don't get to know, and that's the mystery of it. Now Kronk is stressed because Poppy's coming. Poppy
Dad
is
Kronk
yeah, it's his dad.
pressure.
So, how would you explain the relationship between Kronk and Poppy?
It in the beginning, it's not great. It's there's a lot of fear of like I'm gonna not make my dad excited about what I'm doing with my life, which relatable.
Yeah.
I was like, that's deep there, Kronk, and that's kind of what the relation was like, kind of ridiculing and like mean. Not like there was no like I'm proud of you, son moment
Yeah, he
in the
wants
beginning.
one thing and one thing only. It's a thumbs up. Yeah, or you're number one, but mostly a thumbs up is what he is searching for. And he's stressed out because he's like, my puppy wants me to have a wife, kids, and a house on a hill, which they're in Peru, so hills are plenty. Real estate's hard. I don't know what the real estate market is.
In
That's a big
Peru.
ask,
Yeah.
but he's very desperate for that. And I think he explains that to the elderly folk. And someone overhears. And I got excited because I'm like, oh, it's going to be Cat Yzma. Oh, I can't wait to see. It's not Cat Yzma. It's furry Yzma. It's Yzma with a tail.
Mhm.
I'm very sad about that. I will
It
say that's my first disappointment is that
Cat Yzma would have been so much better, but
yeah,
like the like furry Yzma
it's just a
acceptable.
different thing.
It's
Yeah, it's a whole
different.
different thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I wasn't expecting. It's like how did that happen? Even though it makes sense because like the potion takes a bit to like come back to full form deal,
yeah.
and he just never kind of fully transformed in a year, which is crazy. But she's all right. She's in the movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So she hasn't been brought to any sort of Peruvian justice. So she's still out and about. And she tells Kronk, guess what? I have a potion that will help people live forever. And then she sings a song. And I can't remember what the song was, but they do sing it. She sings it. He does not. That's all I have on that note.
Yeah,
That
it wasn't.
it wasn't a
It
super
was
memorable song.
yeah.
So she's like, guess what? If you do this, you're gonna make a lot of money and it's gonna be great. So the potion makes you younger and vital, but like she's obviously not taking it because she is an elderly cat. So
Yeah,
a cat
it's a
woman.
little questionable. Why aren't you using your own product?
Yeah, right? It's like
Seems
how
how
there's a study that like a lot of doctors who do LASIK don't have LASIK and they wear glasses and
hmm,
read into that. I won't get onto that here
what's
because
up
it's
with
not
that? Like, why are you? If it works on you, why aren't
mhm.
you
Gotta read into that kind of stuff. But Kronk
easing
doesn't
them?
because Kronk is a pierce-hearted man and he doesn't ask any
Countries.
questions. He says, I will sell it. And sell he does. Now this is, I thought like the climax of the movie. No, this is like 15 minutes into the movie. So they're
Just
selling,
beginning.
yeah, they're selling the potion. Um, and
It's
then I
early
don't
game.
know how Kronk comes about it. I just saw this 2 days ago, but Kronk comes to the realization the potion doesn't do anything. Oh, he gets very rich. So he's very, very rich.
All the money.
And yeah, so he ends up buying like a very, very, very big house. So the good news is Yzma, while being
Part one
evil,
done.
yeah, it's on a hilltop, and Yzma is very generous with her profit sharing. I will say that. Like, she'll do a lot of evil, but she's certainly not exploiting Kronk.
She's a good businesswoman.
Yeah, because he buys a house, a really big one, and some. He hires two assistants, and he names them Liz and Tina. Eight something and Tina, and it's all a setup for a joke later when he says, "Don't cry for me, Liz and Tina." And I'm like, is that you went that far for a joke for "Don't cry for me, Argentina"? They do. They go that far for that joke. Either way, he comes to realization. Do you remember how he remembers that it doesn't or figures out it doesn't work?
No.
Okay, so it's not important, but he does
Yeah, no,
figure it
it's
out.
and then he feels so bad about it. That's
He
what I
does.
remember. He's like, "Oh my god, why am I doing this?" And then he
He gets accosted by Rudy. I know that is part of it because Rudy comes to his house and he's
was
naked and he's
Kronk
freaking out.
selling was Kronk selling what
It,
was
yeah.
Kronk selling?
Yeah, this is a family podcast, but this is something that they teach you about in 5th grade to say
Don't
no
do it.
to.
Say no
And
to Kronk's products.
yeah,
Unless
and
it's
so
food? No. Yeah, no.
yeah, Rudy is on on the ceiling, very feral. He's doing
Mhm.
quotes from The Lord of the Rings, my precious bit. And I think at this point, Kronk is like, "Well, this can't be good. If Rudy's
This
acting
ain't
like
working.
this." Yeah. So Rudy, he tells Rudy, he's like, "I just came to the conclusion that this probably isn't good." Rudy's like, "Oh man." He like looks, he's like, "Look, Rudy, you're still very old." And he's like, "I am very old and poor." Um, so
Thank
all
you.
bad news for Rudy.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, so they find out that oh yeah, the reason he has a house is he bought it off the old people because they sold their house to buy more potions. So it's like very sinister
yeah.
energy there.
Isma did great business, but really wrong.
Yeah. It's devastated the local community. So Kronk feels bad, but then he's like,
Take my
"Wait,
stuff.
I'll give you guys my house
Take it. Take it
because
all.
yeah." So
So back to square one,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So now he still has
Still like
no
30 minutes in the movie, by the way. Has
yes. Yeah, and Yzma falls down a hill, last we see of her. That's somehow I think I just remember she falls away. Goodbye.
and then like the movies like almost feels like a episode one, episode two of like a
Yes.
cartoon and just changes. I don't know where. After that, it's
Yeah.
like second saga, but like there's no transition. So it's just like, all right, part two.
Which there was a TV show, which makes me think that maybe this was like, well, maybe we could squeak out a movie here and then,
But it wasn't even related to the show either. So it's
no.
like,
And they did push in uh Kuzco twice just for fun. He would like cut in and be like, "Yeah, I'm here."
yeah, I like to believe they just didn't. They couldn't
Uh,
afford David Spade. That's just
Probably they said we can do about 5 minutes, maybe
all
with
we could afford
recuts.
for his time. He's
Yeah,
doing grown ups. It's too
yeah.
busy.
So he's not in the movie. I mean, he's in the movie, but he's not in the plot. He is
Yeah.
removed from the action and just kind of commentating
Yeah, he
sporadically.
took a narrator role, which like
Yeah.
I have opinion.
So, but he is there,
Sorta.
sort of. Yeah, bare minimum of that. So we then skip to the second chapter of the movie, which is summer camp. So now
Summer
we're going to
camp
summer
Abercrombie.
camp.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he has great PTO, or at least can get time off from his other gigs because he's going to a summer camp with the chipmunks. And there he meets a beautiful woman who has a name,
She has a
Miss
name.
Mrs. something.
Uh,
I'll get it together. So
she,
she is British. I'll note that. Um,
she is also working at the camp, and Kronk is like, well, the second thing my dad wanted me was a lady.
yeah, and he's instantly charmed by
Instantly.
her name is she's very low on this listing. That's unfortunate. Like Tipo
Mrs.
voice.
Potts.
Mrs. Potts?
The wrong answers only. That's what I'm
Oh,
doing.
yeah, I was like, what?
That would have been awesome though. That
I mean, we even have Bucky the Squirrel's voice. Oh boy. Oh, Mrs. Birdwell. Mrs.
Birdwell.
Birdwell. And so she's British and she has her own children, like squad, lead
Yeah.
chipmunks. And
She's
so
her
they're,
own team.
and they have beef with each other
It's
first.
like Camp Rock.
Yes,
They
yes,
don't
it's very,
like Camp Rock 2 specifically.
yeah. So they have, they're competing at camp. They have to win
Mini
camp.
games, Mario Party
Yeah.
type of games. Exactly.
So tensions are high. Tipo
Yeah.
and Chaka are there.
They're part of the team.
And then they make raisin bread and they say, "Hey, you have my flour, you have my raisins."
And they get
And then
mad
they
at each other.
and
And it gets
then
a little steamy
it
almost.
gets very uncomfortable to be around. Yeah, they
Yeah.
reenact the ghost scene but with raisin bread.
With raisin bread, and it's like there's kids around, so it just
It feels
I don't
weird.
know. Kronk and Miss Birdwell was the ghost reenaction is like they were like it's gonna get hot in here. It got weird.
It was.
But the bread was delicious because
Yes.
they
Yes.
kept
So they made good bread in the
So good.
metaphoric and
Like-
not, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. They do. So they are like, you know what?
2005. Weird times.
They agree. They're like, we're in love. So it's like a Ben agreed, and they're like, we should make sure our campers are chill with each other. But Tipo did not get the memo. Tipo says, I'm not
I'm
chill.
like, mm-mm.
And he sabotages a cheer competition. And Miss Birdwell finds out and she gives Tipo a talking to. And
You
instead
shouldn't
of
have
being
done
like, hey, Tipo's like 5, I don't know, these things happen, Kronk says, I did it. Kronk takes the full blame, which I
that.
thought was bold. You probably could have explained it a little better, but um, no. So he says, yeah, I did it.
He's
And
a
Birdwell's
hero,
like, yeah. Yeah, he's basically, he took a scolding to save Tipo from
which
being
isn't like high
chastised.
stakes.
No,
It's
he's
it's
just,
it's it's more of a like I will get yelled at for 2 minutes of the movie,
hmm
like instead of you, so
yeah.
you can be okay. You don't
Yeah,
get
I would
in
have been like,
trouble.
sorry, Tipo. I mean, to be fair,
Take
you did
that
do
one.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you did do it. So you should be
learn a
chastised by
lesson.
this British woman. So yeah, then we go back and they're at the restaurant because Poppy's visit's coming. So camp's
Yeah,
over. He lost his love. He lost his house.
nothing's working out.
Pacha, yeah, but Pacha's at the restaurant. And
Pacha's always there for a good time,
he is. And so then at this point, Kronk suggests, perhaps I can borrow your family. Perhaps.
just for the one time,
Yeah.
because you can ask that to people you kind of know,
Yeah.
right? That's
I
something
mean,
you should be able to ask.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So, but they do. Chicha pushes back on this. And so at this point, he's like, no one's going to pretend to be my family. But Poppy shows up. And Poppy is voiced by, did you recognize this voice? This is one where I'm gonna think you said no, but for people who
Um,
like to watch sitcoms with their parents
ooh,
in the late
ooh,
90s, early 2000s.
um, is he from? See, I'm a child, but I'm gonna say he's like from like Frasier.
Yes, he's Frasier's dad. You did it. Everybody.
Oh, he remembers. He
This is
remembers.
yeah, this
I
isn't
was
the
gonna
only
say
way to
Cheers, but it wasn't. It didn't. That
well, I
didn't
mean,
make
you'd
sense.
still be adjacent because Cheers is a prequel.
Yeah.
So
See, I was on the.
so
Go
yeah,
me.
Frasier's dad / the eccentric rich man from Atlantis is Poppy. Which Poppy, I was like, that seems like he's a strong Latino. No, he's like a kind of got a I'm an old timey kind of voice. So
Yeah,
that's Poppy.
they could have just went full.
Whatever.
Interesting decision.
So Pop,
It's their decision. They could have cast whatever they want. 2005. It's wild times.
it is true, and this is also the movie where they have a marriage scene and there's a huppah, which makes you think. So are they Jewish? There's a lot of questions. We don't understand the ethnic makeup of this time of Peru, and we never will
Yeah,
because it's made up.
but we know Kronk is. He celebrates Hanukkah. So
He does, and he makes a very nice loaf of challah bread, so that's cool. Not in this movie though, but we know he can make raisin bread, so it all
it's
transfers.
yeah, good baker.
Yes. So Poppy shows up, and at this point, he's like, "This is my wife," and Chicha is like, "I'll go along with it."
For the fun.
However, then John Goodman, who's not John Goodman, Pacha shows up, and he's like,
Sully.
I'm your wife." And they're like, "No, no, no, that's my mother-in-law." And then there's some tension because Poppy thinks that Pacha as a woman is very enticing. Um, more people show up dressed as babies and/or
They're all
women.
trying to help Kronk.
They are. They all heard the siren of
Help me.
Poppy's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the cheese blows up. So I don't
And
know how
then,
that happens. But the
and
cheese blows
then,
up and we're back at the beginning.
and then it's circle of the movie. You just do it again.
Yeah. So then we've reached the final part of the movie where um Pacha,
It falls apart.
yeah, and he's like, Pacha's a man. He's not
No,
a he
sorry. He's
that's
not.
the
It's not
way.
about them.
And I'm not married to any of these people. These are none of my children, especially not the old people dressed as babies. And people say, but did you know he gave up his house to the elderly people? They didn't say the whole illicit
Yeah.
substance sales, but they said
They
had a
they, they
they looked
super
over
cryptic.
that. They're like, he had a house and he gave it to the elderly. And also he had a love of his life and he gave it up to get a kid not as in trouble. And Poppy says, I approve of you. And Kronk realizes that he was never alone because look at all the people that are willing to
Yeah. He has
change
so many
ages and
friends.
genders just to
So
be.
good.
Yeah. And then Miss Birdwell shows up and is like, I
And
probably
then
overreacted. That was a lot. It's Tipo's fault. He's a
we
kid.
should not break up over a kid's mistake.
Yeah.
Might not be the best decision.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the end of the movie. They're all like, you're not alone. Miss Birdwell loves you. There's
Yeah.
another song. There's like 2 songs in the movie. There's a happy intro song that's just like the first one, but it's sang by not a little man. It's sang by like a little lady. And then they have a song They have a couple songs. I don't remember them, but they were there, and then they end with, like, a reprise being like, "Kronk's not alone, and he found his groove."
He did.
Yeah.
Did he find his groove? Yeah, I mean, I guess.
His groove was volunteerism and
And drug dealing.
then honesty, and then honesty, 'cause at the end, he was honest, and everything came back.
Yeah. His risks he's taken in the movie was not necessarily, like, the ones you really root for,
No,
but
he's an
he did it.
anti-hero. And he was in
He
the first one too, because he was a henchman, and he was kidnapping. So he's always getting into the wrong stuff. He's got a heart of gold, though. Nobody can
he
deny that.
does. He does everything with a pure heart, and
Yeah.
that's why we love him. But, um my thoughts on the whole thing is, I guess the question that is, can a side character get a whole movie and be fine, is kind of answered in this movie as a big no.
I don't know. Maybe there could have been, I don't know. It's difficult to say. I'm trying to think. Is there any example of a movie where they're like, "Hey, it's Mushu time," or like, "Well, has Disney ever done that?" Where they're like, "Oh, there's a
No.
movie." I'm looking around at Disney items to see if I can think of a time where they're like, "No, this character is going to be interesting now."
Yeah, it's
Buzz Lightyear. There's a Buzz Lightyear movie that nobody saw. That was like a movie
but
based
it's
on.
not like a sidekick.
He's not. And also, it wasn't really based on the toy, it was based on the man that the toy was based on.
Yeah, which is
So,
confusing itself.
that for the listeners, please let me know. Was there any movie that ever is a spinoff where it was a side character and they got their own movie, like
No,
Lumiere, the movie?
it's lit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's great. Donkey, the movie. I don't know. So we'll see.
It'll be fun. I guess the
Puss in
Minions
Boots.
got.
Puss in
Oh,
Boots.
that's true.
That's okay. There's
I guess
one, but that's not
Minions got
Disney.
too.
Well, who was
Sorta.
that?
The Minions. They
Yeah, they
got their own
did.
movie after.
So I guess DreamWorks has found a way, but Disney, we're not sure. We're not
Disney's
sure.
working on it.
So before we get, because there's lots of things we can say that's like question mark. What were some things that you did like about this movie? Because there's obviously endearing parts about it.
Yeah, I mean, Yzma was fantastic. We
Mhm.
got Cat Yzma's great. I think I kind of like the message that they were trying to relay. It's like community means everything. Try to be friendly with everyone. Be like Kronk sometimes. Um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I like that they didn't undo the first movie, because that's something I ran into prequels and sequels where they basically they take the first movie like, and then they like start like they basically
start
take the
new.
characters and change everything that they care about. And this
Yeah,
movie, all the characters were exactly the way they were in the first movie, for
mhm,
better or worse.
yeah, yeah. Pacha's showing is fantastic. It's always nice to see Pacha be Pacha.
Yeah. I know.
Um,
Yeah, Pacha was
Pacha just
there, and
tries. It's
he's a
just
real
there.
one.
I have a lot more issues than things I like in the
It's
movie.
true.
Is what
Yeah.
I'm struggling with. I think it's like it is a movie, and you can. It's I like the messaging. The bread part's funny. There's some funny jokes they crack in there. The videotape thing got me in the first try. It was a little confusing. A
Mhm.
lot of confusion that got me a little entertained, which is a good thing.
Yes, and I think there's beauty in some of these negative things because, I mean, I think one of my favorite part of the series is just because a movie is not Oscar worthy does not mean it's not entertaining, and I was entertained by this movie, if not confused, but confusion is in a form of entertainment. Those, I mean, puzzles are things that people do for fun.
That's true.
So, I will
Like
say
crackers.
a negative for me was why, some of it,
Why?
the why of it
Why?
all. There was nothing that after the first movie, I was like, I need to know about is if Pacha's gonna get a girlfriend, and if
Yeah, Kronk's dating life was not a question I had. I already thought Yzma and Kronk was just, you know, a thing. And
yeah. Oh, they went heavy on the Yzma's gross thing. They really went hard they really drove that home. They're like, "She's a
she's
gross
old.
lady."
Yeah,
But, that's fine. She's
it's
a bad
fine.
person, and Disney likes to do the villain being like, "And she's so old, man."
She's
Like, that's like
eh,
the villain of several
not
times
needed.
is just an old, angry woman, and I'm like, "Alright."
It's a choice, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
if you
not a
see an old
great one.
woman, she might be evil. We don't know, especially if she's gross, that's
And she
definitely an
wasn't
evil.
really the villain of the movie. Like,
She was not, well, she was definitely
well,
a catalyst for negative activity.
right, but like
Tipo the villain.
Tipo is the like again. It's how the movie is kind of made, which is a little confusing, but I kind of liked it. It was like 2 episodes
Yeah.
where like the first part, Yzma kind of ruins the day
Mhm.
by making Kronk sell drugs or potion,
Yeah. Making Kronk
whatever
sell a elixir.
elixir
Snake oil. We'll
that
call it
gets
snake
people
oil.
that gets people really riled up. Sure, but that with the money is one of the reasons why he got a praise in the first place.
Yeah, it's all very complicated. There really is not there's a lot of ethical gray area in this
Yeah,
movie. Because he does use the funds from the elixir, the snake oil, if you will, to buy a community center for the elderly, which I think they already owned,
they
question mark.
did. That was where they sold the product. So they kind of just made their own. It was like,
Well, I think he
no, you're
developed the
welcome.
land. I think it was like a parcel of land with like a shanty or a shack, and
What's
then
the
he
real estate on that?
yeah, right. He was a flipper, a land flipper there.
Oh, that would be fun. That would have been a fun turn. But
Um, but yeah, I think I was hoping for more Bucky, if we're gonna be honest. Like there was like he
more
did
Bucky
mention
Kronk.
yeah. I thought that'd be more fun. Some like kind of adventures there. But no, there wasn't. I did, as an aside, I did a trivia question. I run a league and every week I do a trivia question, and if you get it right, you get a point. And I forgot to do it. And I said, okay, what's my favorite Disney or character? Because I was like, oh, it'd be not that hard to figure out based on and they can guess, and I'd probably still give them a point. But somebody guessed
Mhm.
Bucky, and I took away their points because I'm like, what psychopath's favorite Disney character is Bucky? Not
That's
me.
a wild choice.
Yeah, I like
That's
this niche squirrel. Even if you like Bucky the card, like that'd
yeah,
be
no, it's
insane.
no one's favorite character should be
She
Bucky.
whispered it to me, and I had to pretend like I wasn't like insulted and hurt as I
It's
was
like
wearing a Stitch sweatshirt. I was like, to be fair, I did make a
Bucky.
Bucky cake the week before.
Oh,
A
the
few,
RIP one, right?
yeah. So I think
Oh,
that she was like,
glorious.
"Oh, she must really like Bucky." I was like, "No, I really like memes. It's very different."
It's different. Bucky's just a great meme, so it's a weird relationship. Yeah,
Yeah.
more Bucky would have been fun. More annoying shenanigans. Maybe like he caused some problems instead of Tipo. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not
Just
sure
something
what the
different.
plot would have been. I do think the father thing is interesting. I didn't
Yeah,
think I did not like that. Um, but yeah,
the
overall, oh, and
message
then
was
the
cool.
who was
The message was cool.
yeah, and they also showed that like elderly people, they learned that it was a placebo and that they are actually moving and grooving, and the potion just made them feel stronger, but they had that strength in them the whole time. So
It's the power of friendship all over again.
yeah,
It's magical. It's a magical experience, and
so
Yzma the
yeah,
Whale did it.
I wasn't upset. I will say that. But this does
Confused,
so
confused, but
then
not upset.
yeah, confused and not upset. Are there any things in this movie that you're like, yeah, you could bring that into work? Get in here.
I would like to see Poppy
Yeah, Poppy and
and
Poppy's thumbs up. I would
yeah,
like that to be
Poppy's
like,
thumbs up would be a great like drop card. You know, just
mm-hmm.
you got approved. Good job. Here's a
Yeah,
card.
yeah, Poppy approved. Be like, you may have lost the game, but you got Poppy's approval.
Oh, that would be nice too. Or Miss Birdwell would be, I guess, an option.
It could be.
To like
You could have one making raisin bread.
Raisin Bread could be a heal card.
Yeah, it could be, or yeah, because it restores bonds. So it could be raisin bread is like an item, and when you use it, you have ready one of your characters, but your opponent also gets to ready somebody because it's like, hey,
Ooh, it's so
we're
good.
friends here.
It's so yeah. That'd be
So
nice. I think that'd be cool.
yeah,
We can have the potion. I mean,
yeah.
I've been looking for Kronk's potion.
The glow
The
cube. Have you seen that they made a Cusco's potion glow cube?
I saw. I don't know how to obtain that.
I'm never
And
going to. You
huh?
you know there's people walking around the park, like, bags of 50 of them, and they're like
I just
and
want.
then
I don't understand how to obtain it. So I have no. I saw it. Someone tagged me, and I was like, I don't know how.
yeah, if it's in the park and it's limited, I'm like, "Well, that's not a real thing, and I'll never see it,"
Doesn't
because that's
exist.
it's yeah, I simply do not have the stamina to be a person that hunts for rare objects in the park. I
Yeah,
can't do it.
there's a lot I love to do in parks. That's not one of them. Unless it's like release day on Lorcana, then it's just a little fun.
Well, yeah,
But
but then yeah, that's
for
different,
me, I'm
obviously.
opening packs. It's what that is.
Yeah, yeah,
But
when people
those
are
two
said
would be fun.
yeah.
The baby,
The baby, the unnamed well, no, the baby had a name, but I can't remember.
did he?
Yeah, he had a name.
Hell with
Baby
names. Wow.
Yuppie.
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 Great
That's
name.
terrible.
There's so many cha sounds and they completely removed it. That's weird.
Tipo-ing, maybe it's Yuppie? I hope it's Yuppie. I'm gonna say
You
it's Yuppie.
Yuppie. Okay, sure. Name.
Yeah.
A name
Yuppie,
choice.
Tipo, and Chaka. All right.
Um
That's their life.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Naked
think
Rudy, maybe?
Naked.
That's a card. Give me a
Yeah.
blood-born Naked Rudy?
And he has Reckless because he just
Yeah.
keeps coming at you.
Reckless. Exactly. That'd be fun.
Perfect.
Cat Yzma, please. Half
Yeah,
cat
half
Yzma
cat
and
Yzma.
full cat Yzma.
We do
Just
need full cat Yzma. The fact that we don't have that yet is actually criminal
we're gonna get
because
one. There's no way. It's significant and it's important. Other than that, I mean, that's about it. I would like to see Melina from the show, but that's at the show. That's different.
so okay, yeah, I remember you mentioning that you're like, "Oh, Melina," and you said it in a way where it's like she's an enchanting woman. So
She
then
is.
to meet Miss Birdwell thinking that's who you were talking about, I'm like, "Man, he's got a weird taste in women if this is."
No,
No offense,
Mel-
but if you're really with Miss Birdwell, you're like,
Melina in the show, different lady.
"Okay, different lady."
She's
Okay.
Cusco's love interest.
Okay, okay. Cuz yeah, Miss Birdwell, she's
She's a
fine.
woman.
She is a woman and she does like Kronk. So, if she likes Kronk, then I like her.
Yeah, exactly. If you like Kronk,
Now, would you
amazing.
say this movie is better, worse, or just as good as the original?
Uh, uh,
It's I mean,
it's definitely worse.
it is. But that's
It's a
I mean,
lack of Cusco hurts it.
it does. And lack of being one of the better movies produced by Disney hurts it. So I think like as if we talk about Disney comedies, I don't think you can have a better comedy than Emperor's New Groove.
No, that's definitely
So
it's a hard bar to reach, and this movie does not get close, unfortunately. It
no,
tries.
it does, and it there's times where I went, "Huh," but there was not.
It's a movie that I feel like it tried too hard to be that.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, it
because
tried to hit notes again. It was like, "Ooh,
Emperor's New Groove kind of just did it because it was a silly, goofy, fun time, and then they realized, oh, we can just do that again, but then we have to kind of force it. It didn't work out.
So so that makes it tough, but
Hmm.
the final question, the question on everyone's mind is how it ranks compared to its peers, which I'm pulling out my handy dandy peer
Let's
list.
go. It's
Um,
not worse than Little Mermaid 2.
yeah. So I think like it's tricky. In Little Mermaid 2, I will say we put that there because Becky scared me real bad. She was
Why?
like, she's like, it can get so much worse. And so I was positively terrified when she mentioned that like this is actually pretty good. But
It's
I will say it was as good. But I
yeah.
don't think I
I
would ever say this is an A tier movie
No,
because
it's not. That would be like if Lion King 1.5, 1.5 is S, which is the decision.
debatable. But it's to its peers.
No,
Watch
I
Mulan
think
too, and then it gets there.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's especially looking into that good luck list.
I'm
Um,
scared.
there's some oof, but there's some good ones, so that'll be a fun time. But
I
like
I'm absolutely terrified for Hunchback of Notre Dame too. I'm
that's
terrified I can't do it.
I've heard many bad things about it, so I can imagine how that
But
will go.
I will say that this one, I think it's a B. I
I
think
think
it
B is where it's supposed to be.
yeah. If it was something where this was blank, I'd probably put it as C, but it's not blank. So therefore, I think
Yeah.
it's a B.
It's like a B minus, and you can argue with your professor to be B minus C plus. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, right? You're like, "Well, let's come
it's
on, the
like so
curve. We're
close.
grading on a
Come
curve
on.
here." So,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
I
I think
think
that's fair.
I'm okay with B because it's not an A movie. I would be lying if I said, "Oh yeah, that movie's better than Little Mermaid
No.
2."
I
No,
think people are surprised that I rated Lion King 1.5 as high as we did. But
but like that's one of the better ones.
and it checks all the boxes because when I think about prequels and sequels, I'm looking for something that, enhances the original experience, doesn't
This did.
sabotage the original, is a fun little way to spend some time, and, it's like a bonus feature for the first one,
Yeah,
and it checked all those boxes.
mm,
Um, and this one checked most of the
some of them.
boxes.
It
Yeah.
is not as good, but
Yeah.
it's a
It
movie.
was
It was entertaining. It was entertaining,
yes.
and it did its job. For an
So yeah.
hour and 12 minutes or whatever it is. I had a positive experience.
Yeah. I'm excited that the best part of the series is that at least I know there's one person I can talk to about it. Because I think if I watch these movies and I had to just keep this to myself, it would be hard, and this is like
Only
therapy where I
person
get
sees yeah.
yeah, it is, it's good because otherwise I'm just gonna sit and be like my poor husband will be eating dinner, and I'll be like, I just what were they making raisin bread? Was that a metaphor?" So and he
What
wouldn't
is it
know.
for?
Yeah. So,
What was in
well,
that bread? Why is it so good?
it doesn't even look like it was, like, hard raisin bread. I prefer, like, a more soft.
Cakey.
Yeah, that was like a bread that you would want butter and toasted, so honestly but who am I to judge the Peruvian children and what they like? Um,
They loved it, so
they did. Well, Breezy, thank you so much for being
of
a guest
course.
on Movie Night at the Inn. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you, and I love
Always.
being on your show because I can chit chat about anything. But I love it here because, then, like I said, I get to talk about something we both experience and how we're processing it.
Yes. Yes, and I'm so sorry to whoever's gonna watch Hunchback 2, because that's gonna be a trauma. Like, that's just gonna be a
It
trauma session.
it will be. I think Pocahontas 2 and Hunchback 2 are the 2 that I need to get through. I need to do
Yeah.
it. I can't save them for the end. But I
Oh,
think now we've done this is number 4. If we have 29, so we have 25 more movies. So you'll
good
probably
luck. Good luck
you
on
might be
your
back on. Maybe I'll save that
crazy
one for you.
if you do Hunchback 2, and, like, please,
Yeah, right.
we'll be we'll be traumatized together, and we'll be
Oh.
in pain together, so
I al it's between somebody that doesn't have I wanna find somebody who's like a French literary scholar and be like, "Oh, I love Victor Hugo," and be like, "Well, what are your thoughts on a sequel to the Victor Hugo novel, Hunchback 2?" The one where everyone's alive and it's not that bad. But I do like this is the last thing I'll say is that I love in Hunchback 1, they're like, "Oh, is he gonna get the girl?" They're like, "No, you're very ugly." That's like,
you
"Oh,
can't be
sorry, no, the
let's be
blonde guy
real here,
gets the
buddy.
girl. No." So they made a whole second movie to be like, "But you get this girl. That's not bad, right? Sorry, kinda
Second
that wasn't
play.
nice." It's like Beauty and the Beast where she goes, "No, you're a beast, gross," and leaves.
Which should have been the right option, but that's a whole different conversation, but
That is a different
it's
conversation
a
for a different day.
yeah. But thank you
But
so much for having me on. This was a fun time. I had to re-look into a movie that I sometimes remember, sometimes don't,
yeah,
and
depending
made me
on
realize, that's a movie of all
it
time.
is. I think it says that on the DVD case. It's a movie. So, before we say goodbye, where can people find and follow you and observe your show?
People can find me on Twitter at Ybreezy. I do a little fun show called Lorcana After Dark, where we don't really talk about Lorcana. We just talk about things, and gives a good time to escape from a little bit of everything and talk about Disney and fast food chains around the country.
Mhm.
Um, you can watch that at twitch.tv/Ybreezy every Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, and yeah, that's it. I talk about Cusco, and it's a good
It's a
time.
it's a lovely time, and I will say that I found out you do have to watch a I don't know how you earn the berries, but if you watch on Twitch, you do earn berries through a method, and if you get 2,000 berries now, I don't know how long this takes, but if you get 2,000, you can redeem your berries to see a cat. So, for
Yes, we
everyone
flash a
listening in,
cat for 2,000 berries.
how do you get the berries?
You just watch chat. Yeah,
Oh,
all you got to do is
okay.
just like type in the chat sometimes, and sometimes just
I'm gonna be
watch
spamming the
through.
chat
Yeah,
tomorrow. Be like, "Cat, cat,
hey
cat,
cat,
cat," until it comes out.
cat. Yeah. He needs a little emote eventually. We'll get so
That's true, right? You should be spending your cat points for cat site.
cats
So yeah,
exactly.
definitely tune in. If you want to hang out with people in the Lurkana community, be in their goofiest selves, then it's a very good
Yeah, it's a good time. I gotta I got a Lorcana like Golden Mickey winner to yell at me about drinking shoeies. Like, it doesn't get much better than that, to be fair.
It doesn't. No, it's certainly a crossover event. You do get lots of things happening that you would have never imagined before you
Yeah,
tuned in.
but that's the beauty of the community. So
Well, thank you again. And thank you to the listeners for joining me for another episode. As you know, there's always room at the end. So if there's anything you want me to talk about, please feel free to email me, contact thelorekeepersin.com, or reach me via Twitter or Instagram, linked in the show notes. As always, thank you for hanging out with me today. We are always happy to have you stop by the Lore Keepers Inn wherever your quest may take you. And remember, if you don't know where to find us, just take the second star to the right exit and head straight on till morning.